Newly stocked on the shelves is box number 512 with your hosts Aeon
and the Lioness,
Black,
trans
women,
women, and excellent.
and defying all life expectations.
The show begins
Now. Hey y'all, welcome to episode 9 of box number 512 podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk.
Number 9, huh? How y'all doing? It's me, the Lioness.
And it's me, Aeon. Girl, what's going on? What's going on? I feel like it's been a long time.
It has, but I love the fact that it seems like a long time, but it really hasn't. But it's just because I like talking to you, bitch.
Side note, one of the funny things that we're learning about doing this show is that the Lioness and I, we can't really do back-to-back shows because every time we've done something and we've tried to record something the following day, the magic is just not. I'm not going to say that the magic is just not there, but it seems like the labor when we try to do it the second time. So it's great.
Because what y'all don't realize is there's always a pre-conversation and a post-conversation. We're always kind of producing the episode as we're doing it. So there may be, even in the episode, moments where we have to say, okay, we're going to stop and restart. I mean, this magic, this process that seems so seamless to you guys actually requires a lot of thought for us. We're not just putting out just anything. And so because of that, it's like the production that goes around one episode and then to do another one requires another conversation and then another recording and then, you see what I'm saying? So it's just a lot that goes behind the scenes, guys. And so we just realized that we can get to a place where it's like, all right, girl, I love you down, but I am talked out. And I think it's healthy to know that early. Right. So we just know how we move. So we have to give ourselves a little air in between. And I think that's dope.
Right. No, it's really good. So before we get into what we have planned today, I just want to do a couple of house announcements. First of all, yes, we want to thank the Trans Talk for Men podcast for collaborating with us. It was a very great experience for us. Thank you for sharing your platform with us and allowing us to do that conversation. I felt like it was the start of many more conversations that I hope that we can have later on. And I just really felt good about what we put out. How did you feel about episode number 8, sis?
I felt great for sure. I felt like it takes a lot to be vulnerable enough to stand in front of people that are going to have different opinions than you, to be real. And we live in a world where a lot of people are like keyboard cowards and online assassins, and they don't have the ability to say something and say it with their chest. And what I can appreciate about Eric and Chris and Black Trans Talk for Men is that they actually are the kind of brothers that even if they know that they're not perfect, they're willing to stand on what they said, and they're willing to at least engage, explain, and articulate what they actually meant. And that, to me, is better than a lot of people doing this work, because we're not in a place where we can come together, collaborate, have discussion, dialogue, and disagree when need be, and still have good conversation. And I just love that these gentlemen were at least evolved enough to engage.
Right. And I feel it's necessary. It's like we can have conversations and have different views of opinion without necessarily being combative with each other. Because at the end of the day, it's all about creating community amongst each other and creating a diversity of opinions based on diverse experiences. So I really shout out to Eric and Chris. Our viewers, if you don't know, please go back and listen to episode 8. Please go back and listen to their podcast, Trans Talk for Men. And just thank you. I really felt like it was a good episode. Going into the next house announcement, we want to promote that if you guys want to support us, with monthly donations, please go to our Anchor page at anchor.fm. We've had a couple of people that have pledged to become sponsors. You could be a sponsor for as little as $1 a month on up, but your financial support is greatly appreciated and needed so we can start to step our recording up and buy the tools that we need to produce better shows. So I want to shout out Miss Elise Mallory for becoming an Anchor supporter. We see you. Thank you for sharing our show. And thank you to all of our supporters who share our show, share it on social media, and tell your people about it. Because this show is for you guys. I don't know if we'll ever be mainstream, and I don't think, at least for me, that's not necessarily the point. But the point is to create something for community, by community, supported by community, and becoming a sponsor on Anchor really allows us to do that and to really take our game to the next level. So I just want to promote that and do a shout out to Elise. And the last thing before we get into here, shout out to y'all who have come to our not YouTube page, our Facebook group page, and who have been watching us on Facebook live for the past 2 weeks for our Grown Black Trans Women Talk live on our Facebook group.
Oh my girl, so wait. So how has that been for you, sis? Because like I have my thought on it as well, but like with this live phenomenon, what has it been like? And tell all the viewers what they're missing.
I think it's really been great for us. It's really like another podcast episode, only is us on video. And I think it's important, in addition to hearing us in an audio medium, that people also get to see us together, even though we're not in the same place. Hopefully, once we get back to some sort of normalcy, we'll be able, I'll travel to Atlanta more, or we'll be able to be together. But in the meantime, I think it's just great to have people look at us, see us together, two Black trans women, and also really have us interact with our supporters and our followers. And it's basically the same format. We're just talking about random things, but it's more interactive for the supporters, which I've seen some of the comments about our podcast, and some people have been they're like, I live for the podcast, I just wish we could see it. But unfortunately, honey, we're not committing to a YouTube channel, girl, because that's too much maintenance, and that will require a budget and the money and makeup people and hair people and all of that.
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll put it in the universe. We may get there one day, but in the meantime, it's good to just, let our hair down and just talk with y'all. The past 2 videos, it's been sunny days. It's been nice outside, and just really interact with y'all, engage with y'all about the topics that we talk about on the podcast. And it's just, I look forward to doing it every week. Now, it is a lot because some of the lives are just as long as our podcast episodes, but it's necessary for us to get out there, to interact with the people, and to grow our brand. What do you think about it?
I think it's dope. One thing I love is I appreciate you guys' feedback. So when Aeon and I go live, one thing we do encourage from our viewers is, unlike the episode, how we're talking, and you may be like, "Ooh, girl, yes, I agree," or you may be like, "Oh, I have a question." Well, what we do on the live is that we actually actively in real time engage with our listeners. So once a week, you get the added additional bonus of the ability to reach us free of charge and be a part of the experience. And I think that is phenomenal, because what it does is it allows us to really engage with you. It helps us inform our opinion. We're able to make connections. We're able to really, really grow our brand, but more importantly, actually engage with our listener. And so you guys, I am just excited about the live, because I feel like it gives just that extra cherry on top for what is already amazing content, because we do watch, we do look in the inbox, we do communicate, we do respond to all of your thoughts, ideas, opinions. We really want you guys to know that this is a community experience, and the live is just check it out. I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah, so make sure that you guys are following. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media, but definitely our Facebook page, because we do go live together from that Facebook page every Friday. We try to go, I don't want to give a set time, but usually like Friday afternoon, because the episode always comes out in the morning. So just to give y'all enough time to get through the episode. And then when we do the live, we talk, we laugh, we have serious discussions, and we put a bow on top, and we go on with our lives. So please come and be a part of that as our podcast grows and you guys grow with us. So
Definitely. So Brianna, what I'm excited about first, before we get into topics and just ramshod, let's do our check-in like we usually do. I
okay.
actually want to go first because I just want to. I've had such an exceptionally good week that I just want to share. So, this nothing major. It's no big announcement, but this week I really have gotten deeper into understanding more about what I want in life and what I don't want. And what I'm enjoying about this experience with you is I love being accountable for my own future. I love the ability to not have to depend upon someone else's resources. I love the fact that I'm free to grow my nonprofit and my life. And I just wanted to just when this and then so then in this week I've been sitting and I've been doing a lot of praying. I've been doing a lot of singing. I've been doing a lot of just like connecting with the earth, very mother vibes, very mother ocean, very like connecting to the fresh waters of the earth. And I just really want to say, because a lot of times we give updates when stuff is going on in our life that like troubles us or bothers us. But I am enjoying the headspace that I've been in lately. And I just want to be grateful to the goddess and all the things that she's done for me. And I just want to say that I'm grateful for this moment because, like I said, through this process and even the labor that we go through behind the scenes and even the communication things that we've had to work through, I've learned that I am enjoying being responsible for myself. And that's a feeling no one can replace. So I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to say that I'm doing good, girl. How are you, baby?
Well, today is a cute day for me. I have to be honest, it's been up and down. I'm I'm in the process of transition. I'm under a lot of stress. So I'm in the process of moving to DC, trying to find a place, trying to figure all of that out. Also, I'm still waiting for my bar exam results, which is, very nerve wracking.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been up and down. I just try to take it day by day. But I'm just, in the meantime, I'm just trying to do little things to relieve the stress. Like today, I went on a 4 mile run around my neighborhood and just trying to
Come
enjoy
on.
the little things.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to get her waist back. It's been a while. She's trying to get her waist back. And just trying, even through all of the stress, just counting my blessings, being grateful for my blessings. I know every time I do go outside, I'm just, thank you, God. I'm in a nice neighborhood. I have enough money. It's some financial stuff that I'm worried about, but who isn't worried about, especially in the time that we're in now. But just putting stuff in the atmosphere, claiming what I want, but also just being thankful for the little things that I have, even in the midst of chaos. So it's been up and down. Also worried about I'm just excited to, like, my time in Chicago has come to an end and it's bittersweet. I really wish it didn't end like this because it was just so many fun things that I wanted to do and so many like last moments that I wanted to be able to have with folks. Because I know for sure I don't ever want to move back here. But also I'm ready. I'm ready to come back. It's time, and we'll talk about it on another episode. But sis, I'm really ready to come home. I'm ready to come home, and even though I'm not coming to Baltimore. DC is like home to me, like just the East Coast. It's just I just feel that I need to be home now during this season. Like I need to be closer to my mother. I need, I want our relationship is good. I just want our relationship to be better. I want to work on my relationships back home because I know I'm not always going to be on the East Coast, but I just feel like the time for me to be there is now, so that
I
when I
feel
leave
you.
again, things will be even better. And more things gonna be in the air. So I'm just ready to come home. I'm ready to see my mom. I'm ready to see my mom. I'm ready to see my dog. I'm just ready to be back on the East Coast. So I'm just taking it day by day. That's all you really can do. And just thanking God for all of the blessings, and thanking God that even though Corona is real, it really hasn't impacted anybody like in my family or in my immediate friend circle. So just praying for the blessings. But one update that I have that will lead into one of our follow-up topics, specifically for episode 8, I've started talking to somebody romantically. They live back on the East Coast. And we actually met on one of the profiles I created on the Trans-Pacific dating app.
Which one was it?
The Trans app. So he lives in a major city on the East Coast. He's a Black man, professional, very handsome, very attractive. And when he reached out to me, because I had my profile set up, like it explicitly lays out who I am and what I'm looking for. And when he seen my profile, he was like, I have to meet you. I have to talk to you. Da 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 da. And then we ended up FaceTiming for about 2 or 3 hours yesterday, and we had a really good conversation. He's in the mental health field, so he's very big with the mind and stuff. But we were talking.
What's his age?
He is 38.
Oh.
So we were talking, and he was telling me about his experiences as a trans-amorous man on the dating site, and he was basically explaining it to me from his perspective, what his experiences is. And at this point I didn't even tell him I had a podcast or what I did beyond me being in the legal field. And he was like, you know what, like, seeing your profile was so refreshing because there's so many trans women on those profiles that are trying to hustle. And he said, I don't want a transactional situation. He was like, I want somebody that is living their life, that is out there getting it so I can build with them. And I was like, look at the universe. Here we are, not even more than 2 weeks ago, we're having a conversation about transactional relationships and how men engage with us transactionally. That it slipped my mind that I didn't even think about how trans women can give that same energy back.
What does he look like, girl? Unpack this man. You've said so much, and I'm like, oh.
Well, I don't want to give too many details because everything is new, but he is Black. He's chocolate. Very fit. Very nice looking, very handsome man. But more than his physicality, I just really enjoyed the meeting of the minds and the conversations, because I don't really get that from a lot of trans-amorous men that I meet on these apps, because it's very physical, and then the conversation doesn't go past that.
Right.
And but to get to the topic, I was just like, damn, I didn't even think about how trans women can also engage transactionally with men who are interested in something more, and what that conversation would look like. And then I was thinking about, I was like, well, I don't really think we would be the right ones to have that conversation, because one thing I don't want to do is police trans women, because basically he was telling me his experience was he'll meet like trans women, but like their whole stilo is well, we can talk, but you need to pay me, or I need my money up front, or you need to do this for me, and you need to do that for me. And he was like, I'm not really on that. I'm trying to get to know you. But he said, it's so hard. And when he said it, I was like, you know what? I've heard other trans-amorous men say the same thing, that when they finally get ready to date, a lot of the girls are on that for a myriad of reasons. Maybe they're in survival sex work, or maybe these girls are, burnt out and they feel like this is how they have to engagement. And I know I've been been in times where I've come across relationship type men, but because I was where I was and whatever point I was in my life, I'm like, I don't even have the capacity to go all of that with you. So,
exactly.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I hate to cut it. Yeah. So I really was gonna say, this topic is interesting to me because I was on a call the other night with the Trans Supportive Brotherhood. Shout out to Troy Kennedy, Jonathan, and all of the gentlemen that were on that call. It was a wonderful call because they had women on the call, and it was just wonderful. It was a
Why
great.
wasn't I on the call? That's
You were
shade.
supposed to actually be on the call. You were invited, according to what I was told.
Girl, I'm gonna get
Chris was
Troy.
on the call. Troy was on the call. Everybody was there. It was
Go
like a
ahead with
whole
your
thing.
story. Let me get at Troy privately. Go ahead with your story, girl.
Yeah, you're gonna have to read somebody, girl, because it was very much like, why wasn't Brianna there?
Right.
Like it was everybody. Like it was a whole bunch of girls on it.
Oh, that was shade. But go on with your story, girl. Go on. I'm about to mess with Troy right now.
Because, okay, girl. Well, tell him I said hello, bitch. Damn. But anyway, let him know we're recording the podcast and I mentioned it, bitch. But yeah. So in that conversation, they were also talking about how there tends to be a tone of transactionalists sometimes to their conversations with trans women, so much so that they don't even know how to get in a real conversation because they're seen as bums for not willing to pay to have conversation because they're trying to get to know them as people. And I think that's a very interesting prospect. And to be real with you, I think if you think about it like this, that there are 30 million Americans that filed for unemployment this last month. There are a lot of girls that don't have no jobs. There are a lot of girls. Like now, if you know that if you know that the mainstream has been affected by COVID, and their employment prospects have shrinked, and that today Uber laid off 3,700 employees, called them on a Zoom, bitch, and laid them off in the first 3 minutes. Okay, so we live in a world where people laid off all of their customer support, girl. Called them, made a mandatory Zoom, bitch, and laid them off in the first 3 minutes. And ended the call, bitch. And ended the call.
Oh my God.
Did not take questions, Miss Thing.
Muted and probably made sure the microphones was muted before they made the announcement.
No, and probably turned the motherfucking and probably turn off the screen, bitch. You're gonna just get this audio, Miss Thing.
Oh, baby. Girl, capitalism is so fierce, bitch. It really is. It really is.
It is fierce as fuck. Do you hear me? But yeah, because of that, you know it's a lot of the girls because we already are underemployed and unemployed. So you know it's a lot of the girls that are just in a desperate way right now. And to be honest, what we fall back on in our times of stress tends to be what is the oldest profession, what we're good at. No shade. And so I can understand why it's a very difficult time for guys to date. And I just ask that they have sympathy and understand that some of these women are literally trying to feed themselves on those websites. Yes, you want to date someone, you want to get to know, and we are on there as well, but don't be so harsh on the sister that is trying to feed her face because she just got laid off. Right. And she's trying to feed herself, or we're living in times where even if she was sex working in a greater way, even in these times, they've had to use they're doing what they can to survive. And I want to advocate for my sisters to get your money, bitch. But in the meantime, fellas, I can get where you're coming from. We just ask that you give us grace, pardon our progress.
Right. And I also, I feel like men should have this conversation and men could really talk about their experiences dealing with transactional interactions. But I was also thinking about this too. I also want them to have context because anything that men do, it's a very fine line where it could turn from like a critique into them just being misogynistic. Because I've dealt with a lot of men where they had a lot of valid critiques where it's like, well, I don't want a trans woman that is doing sex work. And I feel like if somebody doesn't want to deal with that, that's fine. But to then like go in on trans women and act like you don't know the circumstances of why a lot of us have to engage in sex work and how hard it really is to get a job as a trans woman and the discrimination that we face, and then that turning into slut shaming them. I think that's a fine line, and I feel like the trans-amorous men could really have that conversation, but there's really a care that has to be like, it's okay that it's all right if you don't want to date women that engage in sex work, but also be mindful of the context and don't shit on them, because
that part,
it is what it is.
And yes, and then and if you don't, and if you run across a young lady that happens to be engaging in sex work and she handles you transactionally, don't take it personal. She is trying to feed her face. Like, don't take it personal. Just move on. Like, that's not for you. And I know that that's frustrating because there are a lot of beautiful women that you may fixate on. But hey, if they don't want you, you have to move on. That's just it is what it is. If you're not willing to pay, and that's what she's about, don't be upset. Move on, because we are in difficult times, and there are plenty of girls that aren't about that. And so, and I can advocate for those girls too. There's plenty of us out here, and I know a lot of guys say, no, it's not. Yes, it is. You just have to learn how to look differently for the women you're looking for. When was the last time you attended a trans meeting? When was the last time you actually came to a rally? When was the last time you went to one of our meeting places, came to a pageant or a ball? Like, if you're really about that life, we do have very active lives that y'all come and follow and like our posts and heart our pictures and heart our ball posts when we all naked and doing sex siren. Well, show up to the event and maybe you might get to meet one of us. That's a better way. I mean, I know that these dating sites are easy and convenient from the privacy of your home, from the private discretion of your home. But if you really say you want to date us, walk into the light, Caroline. Step into the light, daughter. Let these people know that you like trans people by making your presence known, because we do live very open public lives, and you follow us on all of our platforms, including Twitter. So go follow us and go to some of those venues where you see us, and you will find us there because we are videotaping live from the function. We're a very, very communicative community. So when guys say they don't know where to meet the girls, it's like, no. There's a place to meet the girls. It's how comfortable you are in your manhood to be able to go and meet them.
Right. And one of the things that the guy I'm talking to that said that stuck out to me, and he's saying all the right things. As a girl, you still have to have your eyes open, but he said all the right things. He was like, I actually read your profile, and he was like, I don't care what anybody looks like. I'm listening to what they're saying and what their mindset is. And I was like, well, that was my intent on writing it on there, because he was asking me what is my experience on these dating sites. And I'm like, there's a lot of guys that are inappropriate and wrong, but I know that comes with territory. And I know that what I wrote, the right one will get it and will have that connection. Because yes, I look how I look, but I bring more to the table. So it was just really interesting to really hear their experiences and hear their perspectives of guys that are looking for something serious and just what they have to do. And so it's just like they have to be patient, just like I have to be patient. And just when the time is right to make those connections, it'll be right. But I really think the guys can have that conversation, but it has to be a tenderness. And I know I didn't want to have the conversation only because, sis, I know what time it is. So I'm not here to police any girl, bitch. If you got to make the money, and don't be apologetic about it, or don't feel like you need to stop your hustle to get a man. Sometimes you have to be stable, and nobody's really out here looking out for us like that. So I totally get it.
Exactly, I totally get it.
So going into the next topic, something that just actually happened today and has a little bit to do with trans women working, or trans people in general working and having stability. Amy Stevens passed today. Amy Stevens passed today at
a lot of people have passed, but yeah, Amy Stevens.
Yeah, a lot of people have passed today. Rest in peace to Andre Harrell, Betty Wright, which took me out, and Little Richard. Rest in peace to all of them.
Yeah.
But Amy Stevens passed today, and for those of y'all who don't know who Amy Stevens was, Amy Stevens was a trans woman who was one of the plaintiffs in the Supreme Court case that we're still waiting on a decision on any day about trans and gay rights in the workplace and whether LGBT people are covered under Title 9.
This is really big.
In reference
I'm so
to
sorry to hear that.
yeah, in reference to LGBT discrimination in the workplace. So it's just really sad.
Did they
One
say anything about cause of death?
I didn't read cause of death, but I saw reports in weeks leading up to her death that she was in hospice care. So basically, Amy Stevens was working at a funeral home and decided to transition on the job. And once she transitioned and she decided to notify her employers, they fired her because she was trans, and she sued them. And her case was consolidated with other cases with other trans people and a gay man that was fired because he was gay, and consolidated to see if discrimination against LGBT people, excuse me, it's included under the category of sex, which is a protected category under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And this case is just a really big case for the LGBT community, because a lot of us who do go to try to, for those of us when we try to step away from sex work and we try to do the quote unquote right thing and we try to get legitimate means of work, a lot of times we open ourselves up to discrimination from bigoted bosses who don't want to who are too fucking nosy in the first place, but people that want to be all in our business, don't want to respect our names, don't want to respect our pronouns, and really create hostile environments that makes it hard to work, to the point where they either are verbally or physically abusing us, or they create environments that are so bad to the point where we have to quit. So and also another thing of this of Miss Stevens dying is that a lot of times as pioneers in the work that we do for the trans rights movements and the queer rights movements and even the black rights movements, a lot of times we do groundbreaking revolutionary work that we don't even get to live long enough to see the benefits of the outcome. And I just think it's so sad, and it's something I think about in my life every day. Like, I know I'm a part of some great things and I'm doing great things to the next generation, but sometimes I really wonder, like, damn, bitch, am I going to be here long enough to really experience the fullness of it, experience the fullness of living my life without it being a problem in any parts of my life?
Yeah, this is just interesting. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like, I had it's so funny because, very few populations of people actually have to deal with the reality that our life expectancy is already, so when I was 21, I remember having this really big existential crisis because I was like, what do I do now? Because I didn't expect to live just because I didn't expect to live because because I had deep religious shame, and I had shame around, thinking I wasn't gonna live long because of the choices that I'd made, but then also having like internalized like transphobia and being very just very carefree in my life and just hoping that just knowing that I just thought I was gonna die young, right? So then I got to 21 and I had to go through this big thought of like, what do I do now? And then when I found myself when I turned 35 also having this kind of okay moment, because that's the life expectancy for us as Black trans women. And I remember like standing in that moment and feeling like, okay, like this is real. Like I have already exceeded the statistical expectation for someone in my poverty level, of my skin color, of my status, of my situation, of, you know what I'm saying, of my everything. Like just like feeling like I am now 35 years old and I'm a Black trans woman and like I live and like what now? And so I think from that place of uncomfortableness, I've had this gratitude that I've carried and like because I know that it's big. So it's interesting because I have the experience, like a lot of us, of seeing, like you said, a lot of beautiful, beautiful creatures do a lot of hard labor towards this movement and like dedicate their life in service, even with criminal backgrounds, even with sex work, even while doing it, still fighting for the cause that, and they never got to live to see it to completion for a myriad of different reasons, but just really because we're so marginalized and oppressed in society and we just don't have access to what we need. And so just the idea that this woman was living her life and that her employer let her go, and this case was this it became this revolutionary moment because she dared to fight. And the idea that, though it was not necessarily, we don't know the reason, but we know that she was not able to see it to the end. And it's just like, it makes, like you said, Brianna, it makes me really be like, and that's why it's so important to be accountable for my own life, for me to be responsible for my own future, for me to be responsible for my own voice and the content and the way we share what we do, going in business with you in this podcast. Like, this is an important time because tomorrow is not promised. And that's just what I
Right.
really get from that. It's just
Right.
tomorrow is not promised.
Right. And I am hoping for a positive decision from the Supreme Court, but the way that they're set up, who knows? But the impact has already been made. The conversation is already out there. And marginalized people, we always find a way to make do and to get around. But I just wanted to shine some light on Amy Stevens and just speak her name and bring her into the space and let her know that the sacrifices that you made, it will empower all of us that are still here living. And, we have to carry on the fight. So I just really wanted to, give reverence to her and give reverence to her life and really honor her and all of our fallen trans ancestors that have made so many sacrifices, oftentimes in secret or in silence, so we could have the little bit of freedoms that we have today. So thank you to all of y'all.
Thank you
So
very much.
hey y'all, this is Aeon.
This is the Lioness.
And you're listening to Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Women Talk. And we just wanted to remind you guys while you're listening to subscribe, rate, comment, follow us on social media, and share our podcast. And we wanted to let you know that we just started a new feature, Grown Black Trans Women Talk Live, on our Facebook and our Instagram live pages. And I'm going to turn it over to the Lioness so she can tell you what to expect.
Yeah, so you can expect hot, new, exclusive content. You can expect us having conversations about living, loving, laughing in the pursuit of all of our successes. You'll be hearing us have enlightening conversations with other people. It's our way of connecting with you, our listener. We want to make it a multimedia experience. And so please follow us on Facebook Live and our Instagram Live for more exclusive content.
And now, back to Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Women Talk. Transitioning to the next topic, Jill Scott versus Erykah Badu versus. Did you watch it, sis?
Do you want to know what's funny?
You didn't watch it.
I have not watched it, and let me tell you why. First, I didn't watch it because I didn't want to be a part of the trend, because I was trying to be like, I wanted to digest it without the hype. And then, because I try to be deep, bitch. I wanted to digest it without the hype and just get it. So I was going to watch it on YouTube on the Versus channel, but then I have a procrastinating ass husband. And I've been telling him for a couple of days I want to watch it, and he's not allowed me to get into it. Or I'll mention it, and I was saying it earlier. I said something else we need to be watching, and he put on some superhero shit. So we got to do what we do. But I'm gonna watch it today. Tell me, girl, but I'm packing for me.
No, it really wasn't much to impact. It wasn't, it was clearly it wasn't like the Teddy Riley versus the Babyface. So it was a success, and to me, it really wasn't battle. It was just two Black women just supporting each other and loving each other and really creating a vibe. And I really enjoyed it. Now it was a tad bit long. It was about 3 hours. A bitch checked out at hour 2 because I was hungry and I needed to eat something. But I really enjoyed what I saw. It was what, given the week that Black America had the prior week with everything that went on, I think it was what we needed to just recenter and to have that Black joy and to be happy and to have that Black feminine energy. And I'm a fan of both Erica and Jill's catalog, so I knew a overwhelming majority of the songs, and it was just a jam session. I was in my apartment dancing and just having a good time, just really decompressing and stressing. So I enjoyed it, and it wasn't adversarial where it's just like, well, girl, I'm gonna get you or you got me. It was just us having a good time and folks sharing their art with each other, and it was good. Michelle Obama came in the room. It was so many people in the comments.
Now, let me say this. I did hear, now, I tried to avoid the hype, but there were people that said there was like some subliminal shade. But I just think people just like the idea of Black women arguing. I didn't see it, so I couldn't confirm my suspicion. But was there subliminal?
I didn't see it. I didn't get subliminal shade. I just saw them giving each other life and loving on each other. I don't know. I just feel like
I'm sure that's what it was. I wanted to disparage it. Yeah.
Right. I feel like some girls want to see, leave that for the men. They can do that. I didn't get that vibe over here. I had a good time. I felt warm. It was exactly what I needed to recenter myself and get myself back on track and get my headspace back to where it needed. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And apparently it was one of the most watched verses or Instagram battles since this whole thing.
Black girl magic, Black woman magic, Black goddess magic. Yes.
So work. I live for it. I know that Nelly and Ludacris are supposed to be battling this Saturday. I can't say for sure if I'm going to be there live for that. And it's no shade to them. It's
not must-see TV for you, sis.
Yeah, it's for me. Now for everybody else is breaking out their basketball dresses and their baseball socks and their Von Dutch hats. And I get it. It's cute, but for me, it's not a must. But if I'm around and I'm not doing anything, then I might take a peek or watch. But it's not something that it's just like, oh my God, I have to be here. This is no, girl. But it's no shade to them. I definitely grew up during the Ludacris and Nelly era, but no, ma'am. So going into our next topic.
Okay.
Girl, have you seen that video of the woman that slapped the little boy for doing the savage dance on TikTok?
I avoided it. Children being slapped triggers me. I saw that you had made comment on it,
right?
But I paid it because just because. No, ma'am. That's some things hit too close to home.
Right. So I just wanted to talk. So apparently there was a babysitter babysitting a son who was apparently her nephew, and the nephew was participating in a TikTok challenge where they were dancing to the Savage song by Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce, and he was doing the dance, and apparently the babysitter had slapped him and had yelled some homophobic slur at him. And I don't think I watched the video either, but I didn't need to watch it because I'm all too familiar with that. But I shared it because I wanted people to know, particularly the people that are cishet that follow me and things like that, it's little stuff like that happens in childhood that creates like the internalized homophobia and or transphobia that people like that, whether they turn out to be LGBT or not, have to deal with for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Because here you have this child who's just doing a dance, but because you have this homophobic adult, placing judgment on him excuse me, and then going to beat him or put her hands on him because he's doing something that's quote unquote gay. Like that's the real shit that causes damage that people like us have to sit in therapy
for
and shell out
years.
for years to unpack and find the sources of where we first learned to hate ourselves. Because no
Ooh,
shade,
say that thing.
I didn't even read the video, but I can like reflect back to the times where I was doing like stuff queer, and I don't think I was never hit or anything, but it will always be a situation where somebody was watching me, and then they went back and told my mom, and then it would become an issue. Or my mom would sit me down, and it would be situations where, like, I remember, like, when I was in kindergarten. You remember, girl? You remember the song "Right Kind of Lover" by Patti LaBelle?
Yes.
Bitch, that song was a key, and I remember I would sing it at the bus stop, like when I was in kindergarten. And then I remember one day we were in the car, and my mom was like, "You can't sing that." Like, she wasn't mean or nothing to me, but she was like, "You can't sing that song. Um, you can't sing that song. Boys are not supposed to sing that song. Girls can only sing that song." And looking back on that now, I think she was trying to prevent me from being bullied, or somebody might have came back to her or said something. And then I remember another time I was at a party and I was dancing at the party when I was like 5 or 6, and I'm doing splits and shaking my butt. And one of my cousins went back to my mom and told her, and it was this big thing, well, you can't dance like that because boys are not supposed to dance like that, and this, that. But whether it's abrasive or like outwardly homophobic or like slight stuff like that, that communicates messages, especially to kids, that like who you are or what you're doing, something is wrong with that. And you need to conform that so there won't be any problems or issues. And
I agree. I agree.
yeah,
I think it's a common experience for trans people too. At some point, like
right,
you say, have that moment where you learn to hate yourself.
right,
Like, and it's so funny because many of us can go back to the moment because it's
right.
that traumatizing for someone to look you in your face and say, "Don't do that. Stop standing like that. Don't breathe like
Right.
that. Stop existing like that. You're
Mine was
embarrassing me.
always, if you don't move your hand off your hip,
If you don't stop standing like that, why you roll your eyes like that? Fix your face. What is
right.
with the way you sit and uncross your legs? Why are you
Mm-hmm.
standing like
Stand
that?
up when you go to the bathroom. Don't sit down.
Uh-huh. Don't let me find out you sitting again. Oh yeah, it's the thing
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes then now I have to police your every moment to make sure I don't allow it, not realizing I'm just trying to exist. And I feel like I'm living in a police state. And I feel like if I don't exude exactly what you want, it's fear of violence and or you being angry or being disappointed in
Or
me for just existing.
withholding love
Holding
from me.
love. Yes,
Right.
because
Right.
you want to try to control how I'm to show up in the space. Particularly for Black mothers, I feel like it's important for us to say this because I think sometimes in a world where a lot of mothers I feel like they're having to raise their sons to prepare the world. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they kind of can tend to be a little hard, particularly when they
Mm.
perceive their child to be vulnerable. Because I don't
Mm-hmm.
want you to be vulnerable. I don't want you to be the odd duckling. I don't want you to have to endure hardship. And I want to toughen you up for the world you're about to face. And while that sounds great, what you end up sometimes is the very children who need hugs not getting hugs. The very children who need to know that it's okay to just exist, being told that you are not okay. Because see, what my mama and a lot of mothers didn't understand was the entire world told me I wasn't enough. All I needed was one person to root for me.
Mm-hmm.
To root for me and to stand for me when no one else would, to not let anyone else disrespect me, to not stand with the bullies and then tell me what the bully said so you can tell me what happened. Because see, really what it is our parents were being bullied by other adults or other people who felt like they should check us, and then trying to be dutiful citizens of the community, they felt like it was their responsibility as parents to put us in place. But the reality of it is my mother knew who I was. She knew what she was sending out of the door. What was more important, what was sometimes problematic was that it mattered more what other people thought than what she knew herself to be true. That I was a happy, healthy child that was intelligent, that was outgoing, that was creative, but that the world wasn't ready for it. It was nothing I did wrong.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes in our effort for our children to assimilate successfully and do well and go to college and have what we consider successful lives in our capitalist society, we forget that they're people, and these little people are unique, and everybody isn't meant to be a cog in a wheel. And sometimes God may have given you a miracle and you want the miracle to blend in and just work a good 9 to 5. Sometimes your miracle, the thing that's going to shift the paradigm in your family and free all of you, is that little baby that you refuse to hug because it's just too feminine. And I feel like I wish we could talk about that more. And I think this is an excellent topic, because I think that while we're talking about like that babysitter, let's talk about the community around that woman that hates her own, that is a feminophobic. Let's talk about a woman that hates the sight of femininity. That her seeing that means that that little boy is vulnerable and that he's being weak. Right. So she herself feels somehow weak. Right. It's really a reflection on what she's been taught in her entire environment around what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a man. Because femininity is far from weak. But if you perceive it that way, then you'll see it as a crutch to your child.
Right.
So we got a lot of recoding of the mind. We have a lot of unpacking of toxic ideologies, and we have a lot of reprogramming that has to do for us to really be healthy as a people. And I feel like minorities, particularly peoples of color, I feel like we tend to want to so badly fit into what is this westernized, colonialized idea of what is white, right, and acceptable, that we forget that we come from very nuanced, very evolved cultures that had their own sensibilities and ideas around gender and identity in society before we were ever colonized by Christianity. And I want us to remember that we are deeper sometimes than the thing that is presented for us to be, and that we have to see ourselves as greater than what we're told we are. And I feel like that's what I saw was that babysitter. Yes, it was a violent act. And yes, if I were the parent, when I got home, her face would be hot. You understand? But the problem
have been pressed on her as they should have, bitch. Don't be putting your hands on the baby, bitch.
Let me tell you something, but I want you to receive in my spirit. I'm telling you what I am as a parent. Her face would already have been lit with the fires of hell fucking around with my baby like that.
Right.
However, I want to say that it also said that, but that girl is raised in a culture, though, that looks at feminine bodies in a way that is vulnerable, to where she felt like she wanted to toughen him up or harden him up by brutalizing him when she's been entrusted to care for him. And that's deep when you think about it.
Right. So stop beating your queer Black kids or queer kids. Stop beating them. Stop, and allow yourself to be challenged, honey, because we don't need no more traumatized queer kids in therapy as adults trying to unpack the pieces of their fucking lives. Because that shit matters and that shit stays with kids, and you literally spend your whole life trying to work through that trauma and trying to be a whole person and trying to find ways to love the adults or the guardians in your life, when oftentimes they're your biggest bullies or your main antagonists. So,
and then the trauma of going around your life feeling like you're unworthy of love, because the very people who promised you from birth that they would always be there for you had made their love conditions. Oh, right. You said it, girl. Had conditions on their love. And now every love in my life I know to be conditional, because my own mama gave me conditional love. My own daddy, my own family told me that if you don't be who I want you to be, fuck you. And I had to live with that. And now I have to navigate as an adult knowing that there is no such thing in humanity as true, unconditional love. And what does that do to my psyche now that I've been broken in that way?
So I feel like we talked about enough topics. I know one of the things I want to work on is trying to make our episodes shorter, since we are doing the live things, so it can be like a balance. So I think this is a fab place for us to end for this week.
Yeah.
So I just want to, before we get off, Team Molly from Insecure. Sis, I don't know if you've been watching Insecure. I didn't want to talk about it today without really being able to converse back and forth with you. So
we're gonna next episode we're gonna have a real breakdown because we're actually about to eat it. We're supposed to watch. We're actually having queued up now to watch with dinner. And Tingz actually just served the dinner. He made dinner tonight, girl. He made ribs on the grill, Brussels sprouts, and he made homemade home fries.
Oh, yeah. So the next time I come to your house, I'm expecting a homemade dinner as well,
Tierra.
Yeah.
She said next time she comes to the house, she's expecting a homemade dinner as well.
Yes, and
yes,
hopefully I'm still talking to my friend, honey, and we're at that point where we can travel together. So, it'll be a double date situation. But I'm Team Molly, even though Molly was wrong, sis was wrong, but I'm not here for throwing people away and demonizing people. So.
Wait, don't tell me nothing.
No, I'm not gonna say nothing. I will say Molly was not right what she did, but I see her point, and I'm at the point where I'm not throwing people away. You can hold people accountable in love, but I'm Team Molly. Y'all haters can stay mad, but
I don't know if I'm gonna be Team Molly, girl. So we might.
No. No, I don't think you are, but I definitely am. But thank you guys for supporting our podcast. It means so much for you guys to see us and recognize and support our work. I want to encourage you guys to comment, subscribe, rate, email us at box number 512 podcast@gmail.com. And also make sure you're following us on our Facebook page because we will be going live again this Friday to recap this episode and talk about any new events that happens between now and Friday. And we love you guys so much. Thank you, and see you next Friday. Bye.
Thank you. Also, I want to say really fast for you to get us off, Brianna. I want everyone to know that the lives are every Friday. When this episode drops, honey, we want to engage with you. And I want to stick that because we understand how important it is that you be a part of the conversation. So feel free to tune in this Friday, box number 512 podcast live on Facebook.
Right. Okay, y'all. Stay safe and see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to box number 512.
And don't forget to subscribe and like all of our pages on social media.
And don't forget to subscribe so you can see what we'll stock on the shelf next week. Bye.